did you make that like face setup you have?
Oh, hello everybody, we're live. This is this is Snap Camera, man. It's just Snap Camera for the computer. Tonight we are supposed to have Cynthia. Cynthia's not feeling a wee bit great tonight, so Ethan has offered to jump in instead. He's supposed to be here Monday, but he was free now. So being the nice lad, the friendly neighbourhood atheist that he is, he has offered to jump on and skip his interview up a wee bit so we get to know him today. It's a bonus. It's a bonus for all of us. So Ethan, if you want to just let everyone know who you are and where you're from and all that sort of crack, like.
I am outside of Chicago, Illinois. A regular dude who decided to jump on the internet. I am definitely not qualified in any way. I don't have a lot of history in religion, although I was a Christian. I go by your friendly neighborhood atheist, and you can find me at youtube.com/YFNAtheist. And yeah, is that everything?
Yeah, Dave's being a good lad. He has all your links. He has your Twitter, your Facebook, and your YouTube channel posted in the chat. And then IQ's come in with your Patreon as well. So everybody has your links. It's good. If you haven't subscribed, I'll be honest, man, I've only recently found you as well. You're on the community now, what, is it January, February, I think you joined, was it?
Yeah, around February 4th.
So new on the scene. Are you a new atheist and then just jump straight onto the internet, or did you lose your Christianity for a while? Or, like, to be, I'm not being rude, but you look quite young, man. You look like mid-20s. You're, wee baby.
I'll take that. I'll refrain from saying my real age then. I'll take that. I've been atheist for a few years now. Although my only experience prior to really diving into this channel development was the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, and Richard Dawkins. So I do find myself constantly in a situation where I'm talking to people and they're throwing out all these names. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm new at this. I literally don't know anybody. So this is a big learning experience for me, and getting to learn about all the different channels and different ways people go about spreading atheism awareness. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a nice community, man. It is. It goes. A lot of people will find that, like yourself, the Atheist Experience. It's the general one that everybody, would watch. Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen. If you go back a wee bit further, there was Non Sequitur for a few of us. But having these, group shows is where everybody gets drawn in. We meet people in the chat, have a wee bit of a banter. You follow another channel, and you realize, oh fuck, there's a whole side community over here, there's a whole load of people doing this. And I know yourself, you've come very friendly with IQ and Puck, isn't it?
Yeah, Puck is awesome. Like, I owe him a lot. Sorry, I shouldn't say he doesn't like that. But he's done a lot for me and helped me out tremendously. He is one of the unsung heroes of the atheist community, because he does his best to build stuff behind the scenes. And he spends so much time with me. Like, anytime I do a stream, I'll usually get a voice message just a few minutes after. Okay, Ethan, what did we learn? What did you think of when this person presented this argument? How do you feel about it? Can you represent their argument accurately? So he is like a constant teacher, just every single day. I wake up first thing in the morning and I have messages from him. Did you watch this video yet? Do you now understand what a moral obligation is? Like, he's awesome, and he helps me out a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the community like that. Like Dave, as you met just as you come in, Dave would be my sort of man in the background and keeps things right and makes sure everything's there. But it's very, very good because it just shows that having that support there, like back whenever I was starting, you have a few people and you can do this and a few people who can do that, and one or two people are willing to help out. But as you say, you've only started the channel in February. You've got great camera, you've great audio, you've got a good audience built up, you've got some good stuff coming, you've got the radio show, and having that group of people behind you to give you not only a wee bit of a helping hand, but in the days you're feeling a bit down, a kick up the arse to get you going as well also helps.
It is. I actually had a weird day the other day. And I had confided in one of my atheist friends, and he's like, I need to call you real quick. So he calls me, and I'm not going to say names, but we'll just say, I was speaking to so-and-so, and, I know you got a little discouraged from what this person said, but just so you've got support. This person's really behind you. And just hearing things like that really makes the difference a lot.
Well, when did you leave Christianity? Was it a recent thing, or have you,
No, so it's hard to say the exact date. I do remember the argument that actually was like, oh, okay. And it was literally like a realization for me. But it was around 2015, so around 5 years ago. It's kind of, I'm a bit, without going into too much detail, just because of my medical history. I had seizures and stuff. So like 2014 to 2018, I was on a lot of medication. So my memory is unfortunately very fuzzy of that time period.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was around 2015, give or take a year, when I realized I was an atheist. And it had to do with when I first started watching AXP, I originally was like, this Matt guy is such a jerk. He won't just let people talk. He keeps interrupting. Because honestly, I didn't comprehend what he was doing at the time. Like, I heard of critical thinking, didn't know what it actually was. Mm-hmm. I heard of fallacies, I didn't actually know what they were. And as I realized what was happening, I'm like, okay, he's not really doing it. He's just pointing out the flaws in their arguments. And I started to understand it and apply it to my own life as best as I could. But it was the one specific one when he said, it was along the lines of, I don't know doesn't equal God. And I'm misquoting him.
Yeah.
But it was along, you can't just say, I don't know, therefore it's going to be God. And I had realized at that moment, I'm like, dude, I've been literally doing that my entire life. Because when I was at Catholic school, the whole praying and hallelujah stuff, it just didn't make sense to me. Yeah. Like, I would look around like, I don't get this. Why are we doing this? Yeah, I believe in God, but what's all this, really?
Yeah, all the extras, all the dogmatic stuff, the sitting up and down, like, you know, as I say, I'm from Ireland, so a lot of Catholics over here, and the daughter, she's a Catholic, her mother's a Catholic, and wanted her to go through all them rituals. Now, obviously, I'm going to raise my daughter with the critical thinking and the logical thinking and stuff. Like, I'm not worried about her turning into a fundamentalist or anything. It's literally just the way it is over here. On paper, she's a Catholic, you know, but she's 3. She doesn't fucking know anything. She's just 3. You know, her mother just wanted her christened and wants her to go through the confirmation, you know, the same sort of things as she goes through. But we have a running joke over here. Whenever you go to a Catholic funeral, you know when to stand up and sit down. You look at the old people, because they're the only people that know. You know, they've been going to the church the whole life. The generation that we have, and even the generation slightly above, it's more cultural now. You know, you go to chapel or to go to church because you're supposed to. As you say, what's all this extra? What's this about? What's that about? It doesn't really mean anything. My mother's a Christian, and like she said to me when she stopped going to church, God's everywhere. I don't need to go to church. You know, and I said to make an analogy with yourself, like, that's, you know, what is all this extra? Why do you need all this extra? Adding that extra then, when people find fault with it, can then cause them to leave. You know, you see young earth creationism and things like that, where it was just the Catholic Church. You never, once you left the Catholic, you went straight to atheism. You never had anything else in between.
Okay, it was a Catholic junior high. Mm-hmm. So I didn't identify as Catholic. I just went to a junior high. And just for clarification, many people are like, oh, that's why you're atheist. And that's actually not true. Mm-hmm. Of any school I went to, that specific Catholic school, best experience I ever had. I literally, the sister, the nun, was one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. And the priest was awesome. He used to talk about Star Wars and stuff during Mass. So I had a really, really positive experience there. Mm. You know, it wasn't, you know, I remained Christian. And then I guess you could say eventually I became more agnostic Christian would be the best way to describe it, because I was literally just of the belief that I didn't have another explanation.
Yes.
So that explanation was God.
Yeah, it's okay to say no. It's a lot of problems that you'll probably find doing this new call-in show, that, you know, you can't just do that. You can't just fill in the gaps.
Right, no.
You know, and you'll find that a lot of people, and they'll waffle on for 20 minutes, and when you get to the end of it, it's just going to be God of the gaps.
Right. And, I mean, the other thing I do want to let everyone know, if people decide to watch me, or if they decide to watch the call-in show I'll be doing, if you are expecting an AXP or Talk Heathen, then it's not the right channel. I am trying to do something very different. I do like giving people more leeway, because I would rather spend the extra few minutes letting them feel like they've been heard.
Yeah.
Because to me, when you start cutting them off, or where you just point out how wrong they are, sure, it may help the audience, but it doesn't help that person at all. And I would genuinely like to connect to these people, talk to them, understand the emotion that they're feeling that connects them to God, so we can take that apart, build. Now I'm just word salading.
No. I get what you're coming from, man. I definitely do. If you look at it, I could be wrong in this. I'm not going to go down into numbers and stuff but personally, from my own experience, I find myself watching more of Talk Heathen now, and people that I talk to watch a wee bit more of Talk Heathen, because Eric is a wee bit more open, like yourself, not just as full front as Matt. No, not to dismiss what Matt does, because he spent 20, 30, whatever years listening to this. He's listening to it every day. It's his fucking job. You're going to get annoyed listening to the same stories every day. But I find now what's happening is that the community, there's always been the online atheist community. I think now with the burst of technology that we're all getting access to, and maybe down a wee bit to the lock-in and stuff like that, there's a boost. There's people online and they're staying. There's not this turnover. You find that a lot of people, when they join the atheist community, they come in, they go, right, I'm recently lost my faith, I'm going to watch 6 days worth of Matt Dillahunty. I've now learnt everything. I'm going to go back to my normal life and not give two flying fucks about it. And then they just continue on with what real life is, but they don't realise that real life is being controlled by the people in the politics, by the people who believe these things. And I think that that's starting to be caught on now. So when people come into the atheist community, they're staying, and they're listening to the same stories, and they're listening to the same reactions, and they want to make a change. And shows like yourself and shows like Talk Heathen give more of a chance to make change, rather than just a change in yourself and going, fuck it, I'm going back to normal life again then.
Right. Well, just so everyone is very clear, and you can hold this against me at a later time, you can snippet this and remind me of it if you need to. I'm not going anywhere. Like, while I may be doing a lot, you do not have to worry about me burning out. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep hitting it as hard as I can for as long as I can.
I believe everything about the burnout. Up until the burnout. Some days everybody gets burnt out. I usually do it I usually do have a fun stream. I have a fun stream on a Thursday with Richard. He's a theist. Short story. He believes in ancient aliens, and we go through ancient texts and have a laugh and a giggle about that. And it's good to have fun as well, because you can't just keep approaching it like Matt. The screaming and the shouting, because you're going to get bad effects back. And like as you say, man, the worry about burnout and stuff like that, you're not going to burn out because you're having fun. You're not being aggressive. You're having good conversations.
You get it. Thank you.
Well, that's the goal here. Originally at the start, I had more Christians on. It is more difficult now to get Christians on, as you will probably find later down the line, man, once you build up a bit of a repertoire. Well, maybe not a repertoire, a reputation. Even though you're nice and friendly, there's some young earth creationists out there. I'm still modded on their channels, and they endorse slavery and everything as well, and I'm modded on their channels, because I'm friendly, because you're nice, because you have this cordial back and forth, going at them aggressive, all you're going to end up doing is burning bridges.
And that's literally the opposite of the message I want to send. I am here to build bridges, and not just with atheists, but with Christians, with theists of every denomination. We could be doing so much more. We could be making so much more progress if we just put our egos aside and started talking to each other and understanding each other. We could reach a more common goal. And to me, hopefully this doesn't alienate anyone, but this is where I do have an issue with some skeptics nowadays. They will sit there repeatedly and continuing berating someone, or, confused as to why the person on the other side isn't changing their mind when they just pointed out all their fallacies.
Yeah, I totally understand that, yeah.
Like, if you had 5 years ago, if you came up to me and said, you're committing this fallacy, you're being an intellectually dishonest, you're a dishonest interlocutor, I would have been like, okay, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have actually understood it, because I didn't have those those tools in my toolbox. So skeptics, when you're talking to the average Joe, you need to speak average Joe. I don't know what else to like.
No, I totally 100% agree with you, man. Like, I actually, I like to have these conversations in real life. I would not necessarily read people, but having, like, you're looking at a floaty head. You're listening to my voice. You can pick up a few mannerisms. You're not seeing my hands move. You're not picking this up. And yeah, having that conversation in real life is a lot more telling. But as you say, the people on the street, the average Joe, doesn't have a clue about fallacies, doesn't have a clue about this, that, and the other, or nothing. I went out of my way and bought a black car and then bought a license plate that says 666 on it and park it in a car park outside work so people ask about it. I like to have these conversations. But it's one of the best conversations I had was with a guy who had ended up on spiritualism over losing one of his kids. But, having that conversation with him, we were there for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. It was a fantastic conversation, getting to know the man, how he came to know to his beliefs, seeing the slight doubt that he had with Christianity and how it then can progress on to that. And you're not going to get these fantastic conversations if the man says something and you go, well, that's the, God of the gaps. That's bullshit. And just assuming automatically that they should get that because they don't.
It's ridiculous. It's like, skeptics, when did you stop learning how to talk to other people as people?
Recently, there's a fella in the community and he knows I love the bones of him. I've had him, he's been there supporting me for a very long time, but he's very aggressive when it comes to that. And he'll say the same thing 6 times and then scream at the Christian for not getting it. And it's like, that's not going to work, man.
No, it's, what would you call that? Like, because there's intelligence, there's emotional intelligence. What would you refer to that as for people who just are terrible at communication?
I wouldn't say it's terrible in communication because you could go to that guy, and say to him, right, I need you to teach me how to do this graphic thing on the computer. And he would be very good at communicating that right across to you because he knows that you're at that level. He knows that you have some skills behind you, some understanding. So if he says click X, go Y and hit the settings, you know exactly where all these buttons are. You understand where the man's coming from. But if he said to you, well, that's this fallacy, that fallacy, and the other fallacy, God of the gaps, and you're a fucking asshole, you're stupid for believing in God, they're not at the same level. They're at the level where God is true. We believe in this. We have our faith in this, that, and the other. And you're not on the same level. It feels like you're talking down to the person, and
right.
As you say, man, like a lot of the problems the skeptics has, I've heard other people say this, maybe not yourself, sorry, but other people say this, that the skeptic community think sometimes that they're better than atheists, or better than Christians. We are smarter than Christians. We're not smarter than Christians. We just have a different view and look at things differently. We've come to different conclusions, and in our opinion, in an evidentialist world, we have the support and we can justify our reasoning for what we have, in my opinion, better, because we base in the materialistic world. We don't have supernatural or anything, but that's the thing you have to get past. These people believe in the supernatural.
Exactly. And it drives me nuts when I see, just the other day, I lost 2 atheist friends. I'm using that term lightly. One was on Facebook, asked me why I was talking to Christians because they're just delusional and mentally ill.
Yeah. And
then she called me a fake atheist or a atheist troll, like I'm pretending to be Christian. And then that prompted another guy to come on my page and start saying, oh, I've changed. You're wasting so much time engaging with these dishonest Christians. And he just nonstop insults. And it's those atheists that act like that just need to get out of the way, because they're going to convert more people to Christianity acting like that.
Yeah, that particular person I made a reference to, he screamed and shouted one time at a person who was Christian and then pagan and then atheist, and they ended up going back to Christianity. They were comfortable, they were happy, and they ended up going back to Christianity. They left my Discord after the day of the argument, and over the space of about 3 weeks then found God again. Went looking for help. That's the thing that really annoyed me, was felt uncomfortable in the Discord with a group of atheists because, particularly one, maybe 2 or 3 others were screaming and shouting. And when they went looking for help and when they were down, they went looking back to someone that they knew in their past. It ended up being a 60-year-old old woman who spoke God, this, that, and the other, and, you know, she found God again then. But she went to that person for help. And not to say that if she came to me or came to yourself or came to anyone in the atheist community that she wouldn't have been Christian again, but she went to a Christian for help. You know, we're turning people away. We don't want to do that by being angry.
No, we don't. We need to be more welcoming, more inclusive. We need to stop thinking we're better than people. Yes, I know religious people can be frustrating. It's not that they don't frustrate me too. Believe me, they do. But I think there's another way to do it. And I'm not saying the other approach isn't needed. It is. There are situations where I think that approach is warranted and helpful. But I think it's used far too much.
The thing is, though, you know, personally for myself now, when I left Christianity, I left quite young. I was in around 11, you know, regardless of what the reasons is behind it. Everybody has their own reasons. But when you come out of it, you are angry. You know, and depending how you... Yeah, exactly. And personally, what I find is a lot of people that I've talked to, you know, more so in real life and things like that over here, but online you have I went straight from Christian to atheist. That was it. You know, you have your persona. But when you have these real conversations, you get into people. I find that when they leave Christianity, they go into anti-theism. Then you have a scream and shout match for 5 and 6 years where you're angry, where you're annoyed. And you're justified in your anger because you've been lied against. You've had... You know, your whole life, it's called an existential crisis for a reason. Then a lot of people would maybe find paganism or, you know, deism or whatever, and then agnosticism, and then atheism. That's a general progression that I would, you know, obviously there's differences and people can go straight from this, that, and the other. But I find that the angry people, they are angry, but they need to be talked to as well. You know, they need to learn to move from the anti-theism into, they at least be able to fucking talk to people stage.
And I get that, like, there's obviously traumas that I was not a victim of, so I can't imagine the anger they're feeling. I guess my anger came from not that I was lied to, but that I was looking around and like, why is everybody believing this? This needs to change now. And that's where my anger came from, especially when I saw how often politicians were using God to further their career and make legislation. And that's where I was like ready to just go on a war path. And I started picking fights with every theist Christian I could. Just like, nope, you're wrong. But fortunately I got past that phase.
Yes, no, that's the thing. Being, you know, I don't know having the humility, having the, you know, to be able to realize I don't know everything. You know, not to say I like saying I don't know, but it drives me. I like to learn. You know, I started off in live chats, you know, watching AXP like yourself, and then started my own Discord because I wanted a group of friends, and then moved on from that to learning OBS, and then from that on to a YouTube channel, you know, and it is that general progression there.
Right.
You know, and personally myself, as I say, I left when I was about 11. I got angry because my mother and father had split up. We went to the Salvation Army, which was both Catholic and Protestant, and I went to the mercy seat at the top of the church and asked for like a hug. You know, I just wanted to know that everything was going to be okay. When you lose that and nothing comes back, then you start to realize it can be destroying for some people. So that's where the anger comes from.
Absolutely. And I completely understand it. I feel like, to quote my friend Puck, he's like, we need to build a legitimate community for people to land when they fall out of religion. Like, they really do need more help than we're currently offering. I'm not saying there's not help out there. There obviously is. But we need to do everything we can to build a larger platform for people to feel safe and be able to express those emotions so we can get them past the anger and, if they want, into the fight.
The name Friendly Neighbourhood Atheist, did you deliberately pick that up and use that for that exact reason, that you were going to come across as your local, nice, friendly guy?
Absolutely. And despite, like, even though I like Spider-Man, he's not my favorite. It's Captain America. But yeah, it's like I was like sitting there racking my brain, and I tried out a few different names, And then right when I thought of that one, I'm like, dude, that encompasses my personality. So there it is. So yeah, right when I did that, I just literally felt like that was the name.
Usually there's something that, was it a general progression for you, or was it just, was there some reason that you wanted to come on? Was there something that happened, that made you, right, but that's it. I'm going to make myself a voice now. I'm going to, take the steps towards activism rather than just being this, guy. Was there something that, as I say, you were in the community and this, that, and the other. Was it a general progression, or was there something that just was like, I need to change? Is there something that drives you, that changes?
It's a few things. Originally, I kind of wanted to debate, and I quickly learned that debating was not my forte, and I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. And that's when I'm like, look, I have always been really good at talking to people. For instance, many years ago, I used to DJ regularly, and I was fortunate enough to win several awards in the area and build a very large fan base that would follow me to multiple locations. So I'm like, look, I am clearly good at bringing people in, talking to them, having conversations. Why not just be myself rather than try and be some debater, something I'm not good at? And I often find that throughout the entirety of my life, people are really comfortable talking to me. They confide in me things they normally wouldn't confide in other people.
You're disarming.
So, I hate to say that because I don't want people to think I'm purposefully doing it, but yes, my personality can be very disarming for people.
No, I get that, man. And having a bouncy back and forth personality, having that disarmingness, it's good for people. You don't want them to feel on edge. And it's something similar for myself. It's the joy of talking, the joy of having these conversations, and the fact that people feel comfortable around you to do that. Yeah, your friendly neighbourhood atheist, perfect end name.
Yeah, well, even now I find I'm my friend gave me some advice that I'm going to have to start like setting a time frame of when I can reply to messages, because I'm getting a lot, which is awesome, but it can actually make it difficult to get anything done. But since doing this, the amount of people reaching out and just, well, one, thanking me for doing this, it's so weird to me, because it's like I don't know. I like when someone thanks me for doing something, I just view myself, like I don't see myself as a content creator. So it's like, what exactly am I doing? I am literally just a dude behind a camera trying to spread awareness and start conversations. So it's awesome. It's just also very confusing.
Yes, yeah, no, I can get that, man. I as much as I love doing this, I like to help people. It's nice to help people, and I've got Brainbug in the chat. I think me and Brainbug spent maybe 3 hours setting up his OBS, and towards the end, don't get me wrong, things get fucking frustrating, but it was fun to do. It's nice to get to know, and now I know that it's Brainbug. I now know his first name. I've met the wife, had a wee hello with the son, and you get to become friends with the person rather than internet buddies, rather than somebody this. And I find that, especially with the internet now, and especially because we all have these similar drives and similar goals, the friendships that we're building here, they're good friendships, so they're not going to fiddle away. We talk to these people every day. We contact these people every day. We're all into the same things. We all have the same drives and goals. And as much as you can't pick your family, the community here is fantastic. It really is.
Yes, it is. Like there's another person I want to name, but this person doesn't like credit. So you may know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to name said person. But this person is awesome, and also always helping everyone out, always in the comments. There are just so many amazing people behind the scenes that help out more than I think the audience realizes. They're constantly exchanging messages with people, recommending like, hey, you should talk to this person. Do you want me to contact them for you? It's like, well, this is awesome. Like it's been so welcoming and very helpful. And it's definitely made me feel better about doing this, that I'm not necessarily alone.
Yeah.
Because, I will say, while I've been happy for quite a long time, essentially my wife and I split several months back. Well, it's been about a year. But just literally the week after I started this channel, I moved out of the house I lived with my wife for 10 years. So it was literally kind of a isolating feeling, and then to be able to fall into this and find like a new family, a new community, it was like I needed it. I really, really did, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, as you say, man, the people that goes on behind the scenes, there's software we're using here, that's down to Dave. The help that I have with some questions and research and stuff like that when I come across, that's down to Dave. The artwork that I have on the channel, that's down to Eases and Works. The music that the people are hearing in the background during the live stream, that's down to Eyes for Empties. This channel wouldn't exist without the people who freely offered their time, their effort. The background that you are seeing with the pigsty in space, that took about a month. That guy, Eases and Works, spent at least a month converting what I drew to him as one of like a 3-year-old sketch. Some people have seen this sketch, okay? This sketch is fucking drawn like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. It's awful. And he took that and spent a month and did what you see here today. It just, the channel wouldn't be what it is without the people who help and in the background. They do not get enough notice.
Right. No, they don't. And I also want to point out, though, that a lot of people have said to me, like, wow, I'm doing all this stuff, but understand a lot of this stuff I'm doing wouldn't be possible without the people helping me. Like, I really have had tremendous support, not just from people behind the scenes, but the people on camera. Like two videos, I hosted a debate between Kenneth and Dean Meadows, and people are congratulating me like, wow, you did this great job putting this together. Yeah, all I did is get 2 smart people and ask them to debate. They put in the work. They put in the hours to making that an awesome, friendly debate.
Yeah.
To me, sometimes I have the easy job. I just put smart people in a room, which
I had asshole 104 on against Randolph Richardson, and I'll tell you who he is afterwards. I'm sure you know him. And he came on and just screamed and shouted and all the rest of it. And as you say, man, people, oh, you're great moderating. All I did was when some asshole started to scream and shout, I just muted him.
Right.
You just hit a button. Please wait for someone else to talk. They put in the effort. They put in the time. And the faces that we have here, the channels that we have here, it's a platform. I try to involve as many people as I can. On my Patreon, I think it's from the 2nd level, which is only like $3 or, it's not expensive. You get instant priority for all after parties. So if I have a guest on, you want to speak to him, you're up for an after party. If the guest's up for it, we open it up. We give people in the chat a chance to come in and give that communication with them.
That's actually a good idea. I should have thought of that.
Yeah, well, we've had people on. I've been lucky here enough, man. I keep saying we because I think of this channel as a group thing. It's called MathPig, but my co-host, my girlfriend Manda, she's sleeping. She's not so well, so she's sleeping tonight. But she's here with me most nights. Dave's here with me most nights. It's called MathPig, but this is a group channel, and we've had people on like Eric Murphy. We've had Aaron Ra and things like that, and it's given just the average Joe that's just watching them on the screen the chance to come in and just say hello, just to say thank you for what you do or something like that. It's nice to open up to the people in the chat and give them that chance.
I think that's a really good idea. It also, regarding what you said, how it's not just you, it's we. Same. He was like, you should have named the channel Our Friendly Atheist Neighborhood. And I was like, that wouldn't have been a bad idea, because I don't want just atheists to feel welcome. I want everyone to feel welcome, to share competing ideas in a healthy environment.
Yes. Well, going forward, man, and with plans with what you have, I watched your call-in show the other night. That was the first one you've had. You do an awful lot of atheist roundtables.
Yes, those are fun.
Yes. 5, 6 people as well, and you're doing the stream hours for 6 people. How do you find them? Have you ever had you've had one with Christians on before and debates back and forth, or?
Yeah, I've had a few. So the first one I did was like I called it the Global Atheist Roundtable, where I had atheists from different countries. Then I had the Atheist Christian Roundtable, where it was 3 Christians, 3 atheists, and we talked about how to build, how to have better conversations. I had the Women of Atheism Roundtable, where it was 6 women. I just produced it, and let them talk about what the women of atheism need. This next week, I am going to be doing the roundtable on death with dignity, and Dave Warnock will be one of the members of the roundtable. I am still looking for 2 people opposed to death with dignity. If I can't find them, or if I can't find people qualified to talk on the subject, then it'll just be, us talking why we're for it. And then I'm looking to do one more where it is I've got a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Christian, a Catholic, and hopefully a Muslim and an atheist. So
that'll be a lot of fun, that one. Is there alcohol involved?
That's not a bad idea.
It's like a joke. They all walk into one channel,
Yeah. For the call-in show, though, what I would like to do is each week is bring on a different co-host. So you don't have to tell me right now on the air, but I would love for you to be one of the co-hosts sometime, because I think it would be cool just to have rotating hosts on this call-in show.
Yeah, well, no, definitely, because it gives a different perspective.
Yes.
And I seen you, man, and as much as we have talked about fallacies and stuff like that, most of my conversations on this topic, I did try and do the debate. I ended up moderating debates. I'm better at that than I am doing the debate and things like that. And, excuse me, the conversation is good. Where did you get all your knowledge and stuff behind that? Did you go and sit down? Did you read about it? Did you just pick it up as you went along? Or have you got a year's worth of AXP under your belt?
No, I just have AXP, and then I started reading about fallacies more. And then I just started Dave Worley's book on Aztec fallacies and where to find that, because to me, it's not just I don't necessarily want to always point them out to people, but I found that learning them has made me get rid of bad ideas in my head. It's been tremendously helpful.
Yeah, being able to actually notice them doesn't mean that you have to scream at the other person that they're doing it, but you can change your argumentation, to try and bring it round to that, so that, you can show that it's wrong without telling them that it's wrong. I find that that's the best way to do with, when you're having a conversation with someone. I can't remember who it was in this last week, and we were talking back and forth, and I think I hammered this fucking topic home for guts of 15-20 minutes. And I deliberately went out of my way to not say a specific thing until they caught on and they said it. And it was just, thank fuck. Yes, there you are. Now you see the point I'm trying to make. I didn't want to tell them this is the answer. You want them to, well, not that it's an answer, but you want them to come to that conclusion themselves. You don't want to scream at them and go, that's a fallacy. Bang, there's a wall up. You think you're smarter than me. You want to show the wrongness in it. The wrongness, that's not even a word. You want to show the problems in it so that they can come to the acknowledgement themselves.
Exactly. And I did find out that my argument for being in favor of medical marijuana was bad. Puck pointed that out to me. He's like, just so you know, you're using the same argument that the Christians use with prayer. Why won't you accept it from them, but you'll accept it from yourself? And he pointed it out, and I'm like, and I'm literally sitting here like, I know this works. And I'm like, I can't just say I know it works. This is not working, because medical marijuana saved my life in so many darn ways. So it's
you
hard.
You can swear here.
Oh, okay.
Fuck that.
Let's just say so many ways. I'm always careful because I never know the rules. But yeah, I was on so much medication. So I attribute my current health to that, which he pointed out that, hey, have you gotten off of it? How did you rule other things out? He's like, unless you actually get off of it and test it, then you can't say for sure. And I'm like, you're right, but I'm just not willing to get off of it. Not because I personally I guess my body may actually need it, and I don't want to go back to having seizures again. So sure, it's entirely possible that the medical marijuana didn't fix it, but I don't know that I am willing to take the risk of going back to how life was before.
Oh no, I totally understand that, man. There's a video, not that I have anything, I do smoke weed myself, not for any medical reasons, maybe to help me sleep, and calm down a wee bit. But there is a video on the internet that's going around this year's where this father had a son that constantly had seizures, and I think he was 8 or 9, and he was having to go through withdrawal from so many opiates. They got him onto the medical marijuana, and he was able to go into a pool. It used to be when he would go into the water, the temperature change would always trigger a fit. And just being able to get into the water, the neighbours were out like, this is fantastic. Look at this. Seeing that, I think after 6 months, the child was starting to be able to talk. Because he was having so many seizures a day, and they actually, I think that, they obviously probably fucking edited it, but, the child said, "I love you, Daddy." The child doesn't talk and was able to say and coerce, not as clear as that, but watching the reaction in the father talking about it, it really does. It makes a big difference. People don't realise.
No.
Going forward with your goals, man, have you anything that you would like to change in real life? If you could change anything in the political sphere at the minute, what would it be that you would want to change? Would it be medical marijuana?
No, because that's sorry. Yes, I want that to change.
Yeah, well, we're going to say yes, and then that's federal. That's everywhere. We're going to accept that. What else would you have?
I mean, I would like to get rid of Donald Trump. Sorry, clarification. Trump from office. Re-elected. I was not saying I want him physically gone. I apologize for the poor wording. Yeah, I would.
It's fine. I have a list. It's fine. I'm Irish and I have a list. Grew up in the Troubles, man. It's okay.
Yeah. I think he's dangerous.
Yeah.
I think he's more dangerous than people realize, and it's kind of scary that at this point other people don't realize it or don't see the problem. But I guess right now the best thing I can do is just continue to try and foster a good conversation. Ideally, I would also like to do a political call-in show. I did have a political roundtable a couple weeks back. It was an interesting mix. I had a Republican against Trump, a Democrat for Trump, an atheist Republican for Trump, and a Christian libertarian against Trump. So it was like it was a great mix, and the conversations were great. So I wanted to do it again, and the following week, only 2 of them were available, and I ended up about 45 minutes in, I had to shut it down because the one guy just started bashing Trump and insulting the opposition. And yeah, I don't like Trump, but all that's going to do is shut down the audience, and they're going to stop listening. And I don't want that on my channel.
No, it's the same as when you're talking to the religious people, as we explained earlier. When you're talking to Trump fans and people who support him, you're like, right, well, you just voted against your medical system. You just voted against helping yourself. You just voted to help, the rich are getting nothing out of it. The farmers of this, that, and the other. And they actively vote against it because they don't see the difference. They have that faith in him. I find a lot, commenting on American politics, one topic voters?
Yes, one issue voters.
Yeah, one issue voters. And Trump represents an awful lot of that. He has his Christian board that he talks to. He has the evangelists behind him, and he's using it for political power. He's manipulating it as much as religion always has, but because they are one issue voters, because they have that belief, they don't have that critical thinking, they don't have the logical thinking to see everything else that he's doing is fucking insane. But he says this and he's going to do this. That's okay, right? You agree with that. What about the 50 other things that you don't agree with or that's better for you? It doesn't matter. They don't see it. And having you want to be able, especially on a political point, these things change real life. These votes matter, and
they do.
Especially in America, especially with what you have now at the minute, the situation that's been created with, will you vote Biden?
Okay, so you see, this is what sucks.
Yeah, doesn't it? Isn't it fucking shit?
It really does, because Biden is just a jackass too. Like, I am not a fan of him. I feel that he's more not. he's just, in my opinion, a puppet.
Yeah.
And I really, really dislike the idea of voting against the lesser of two evils, because we keep doing that and the situations are just getting worse and getting more extreme. So I feel like at some point we have to all say, screw this, we're not voting for either of these two, we're going to vote for the third party. But at the same time, I really do not want that man. If he gets in office for 4 more years, he's going to become even more ballsy, even more aggressive, to the point that it's going to be dangerous. So I don't know. I feel like I have to vote for Biden, but I feel like I'm contributing to an unending circle jerk by doing that.
Obviously, but going by this, you would have voted for Bernie if he would have been put forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can't. It baffles me. Well, it doesn't baffle me, because they've seen Trump and they want a safe bet. And because they've voted for this sort of guy for this amount of years and this sort of time, and he's just a representation of what worked, and in their opinion they were happier before Trump, they're not open to the idea that they could be happier than what they were, that they could have better benefits than what they were. You know, obviously I don't live in America, but living vicariously, so to speak. My girlfriend is on the American medical system, and it's fucking shit. All right, it's fucking shit.
If I showed you during my period of my medical issues a monthly bill of all the costs of my, and I had insurance, but of all the costs of my prescriptions and routine doctor appointments, it's like, how do we not see this as a problem? But the American people are so selfish and too into themselves to realize that it's okay to give up just a little bit of extra money to make sure everybody else isn't starving, to make sure everybody else has health care. There is so much more we could be doing, but we're not doing, because the American people cannot get outside their own heads. They think any progress we make is an attack on them personally. And it's just, it's frustrating.
I think it's an exaggeration, or I'm not sure if that's the right word, or an exploitation of the American dream. Because the American dream is, you can get there with nothing, you can work hard, and you can work your way up, and before you know it, 10 years time, you're a millionaire, you've got a Ferrari, you know.
Such a joke.
Yeah, the American dream hasn't existed since the 50s because of the way everything has changed, but the idea of it is still there. It's still driven into people. They want the wife, the 2 kids, the white picket fence, and the dog. To do that, you must work hard, you must think about yourself, and this, that, and the other, and it drives that individualism. The only tribalism they have is at their church, at their football team, people who think alike, like them in a small group. Yeah, it's very difficult to convince so many people. What's the population of America now?
I don't know, but let me look that up.
35 million or something, is it? No, it's more than that.
328 million as of 2019.
I was missing a zero.
So, you know, I am intent, though, that one day my mother in particular thinks I've gone off the deep end and I'm just, you know, becoming a crazy liberal. But which I don't even consider myself a liberal, but I'm intent on getting through to her. Like earlier today when I saw her, she's like, well, just so you know, no matter what, I'm voting for Trump. I was like, do you realize how scary that sounds? That there is literally nothing that he could do that would stop you from voting. She's like, well, Biden's bad. I go, right, but you just said you would literally never. She also stated she would literally never change her vote. Like, come on, be more open-minded.
I watched the CNN talk with us maybe 6 months ago, where they had a group of women in, and they were talking about Trump and, you know, this, that, and the other, and the rest of it. And the host said, right, Trump has just announced that everybody will vote for him if he walked up the street and shot someone. What's your reaction to that? And the Trump supporter was, why did he shoot the guy? He fucking shot a guy in the street.
And that's the thing with some of these people. They don't actually like think about it, and they have this obsession. And that's what's scary, is I feel like he could literally launch an attack on the American people, and many of his following would go, well, they're not Christian enough, so it's okay.
It's the same with religion, you know. They've already set the goal. So the goal is Trump is great, he's good, he's fantastic, we're going to vote for him. He shot a man on the street. Right, well, I've already set the goal that he's great, fantastic, and I'm going to vote for him. How am I now going to justify that? And it's the trail of thought that you find in the political thinking with people like Trump. It's the trail of thought that you find in religion. People going to church and stuff like that. They're not going to be open-minded. They've already set their goal.
Yep.
You need to give them a kick up the arse and go, right, well, just open your fucking eyes a bit. Like.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I do feel like it will be a way where we can get through to more of them. Just got to find it. There's got to be. I mean, again, I was that Republican, so I was able to, people got through to me. There's got to be a way to get through to them.
Well, I think education. Again, yes. America being the way it is, you've got Texas, rigging the books. So Moses wrote the Bible and this, that, and the other actually in your textbooks, in your education that you're teaching your kids. You're teaching them it's bullshit. I did not know that young earth creationism actually was real. I thought it was a fucking joke till I came onto the internet in 2018 and met Americans.
Oh, remember, dinosaur bones were planted there by God to test us.
I was watching Future Man the other day, and it's a time travel show on Hulu. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's quite funny. And they were talking about the timelines converging and falling apart like a black hole, and they actually used that Ken Ham's used it, is it? With the dinosaur in the Civil War. You know the picture from the newspaper that's got a load of boys over the pterodactyl? Yeah, they popped that up and they're like, the timelines are crossing, dinosaurs have entered the Civil War, and they popped up that picture, and I was like, that's just a dig at Ken Ham and young earth creationism. That's great.
Yeah, I can understand why people believe in God. I don't get how they would ignore the amount of evidence to reject evolution and to actually think that the earth is only 6,000 years old.
Have you had many interactions with young earth creationism?
Only two. One was with a presuppositionalist, who, it's weird to say this, but I can actually consider him somewhat of a friend now. Something I never thought I'd say.
Yeah.
And in fact, that same presuppositionalist I saw defend me on another board that we were arguing in. Like, he's like, guys, you need to calm down. Ethan's a really nice guy. And I was like, wow, like, I didn't expect it. Like, I sat there trying to be nice, to him this whole time. And it felt really good to see him do that. Like, I know that should be the norm, but I don't always see that as the norm with people, with presuppositionalists. Yeah,
I had a personal interaction at work for well over a year of a guy, maybe mid-40s, and old earth creationism. I couldn't get over the whole fact of pawn scum to people, totally against abortion. He went to the first actual protest in Northern Ireland when we got abortions quite recently in this last couple of years, and he had his fucking sign and went to this and all, and we would go back and forth and have an awful lot of conversations. He would deliberately call in just to talk, and I've stayed 2 hours after work to talk shite with this man, and he said to me that you're more Christian than some of the Christians he knows. You should be fighting on our side. And it's nice to get comments like that, because you know that you're coming across as the friendly neighbourhood atheist. You're not gonna, as I say, he came back. He didn't fuck off and leave. The wife only came in once. Yeah, she didn't like me. She never come back. But he came in quite often. Some you get, some you don't,
Yeah, I found two that, and I actually don't know how to address this, and this is probably because I don't know enough to address this, but my mother and my friend Rick keep saying, the way you act, that's like Jesus. And I'm like, I get that it's a compliment, but don't compare me to Jesus, please.
No, if you boil down to it, man, ask them why they think that. They'll say this. You ask them again, they'll say that. You get a few reasons out of them, and then you just turn around and go, isn't that just humanism? You'll usually find the reasons that they give you for being more Christ-like or more Christian-like can be boiled down to humanism and just looking after a general person. Same with the church, you know. Oh, my family did this and that and the other. And they go to church because of the community.
Right.
They don't go to church because God saved them. Well, they'll say that he did, but they go to church because they've met 50 people and they're having their bake sales and they've made friends. And I ramble on. Ethan.
No, you're fine.
Have you anything coming up on your channel?
Well, I am going to be on the International Free Thinkers in 45 minutes. They're hosting an AMA. And then I'll also be on the Dean Meadows, the Daily Apologist later tonight. But then Tuesday will be the next call-in show at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Like I said, I'll be rotating hosts every week. This one is making his debut as a new atheist on the scene. Next Wednesday, I have the roundtable with, I don't want to say her name wrong, so we'll just say Erin, Dave Warnock, and Sassy Heathen. So that's next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And that's what I have right now. But I do usually, I am live every single Tuesday and Wednesday. Oh, sorry, also. Next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Puck and Vila Bianca will be on the show, and we will be talking about cancel culture.
Perfect, man. As you say, you're definitely keeping yourself busy.
Yeah, I try to.
45 minutes a show and then another show later on the night. Follow him around. If Dave's still about, please, Dave, if you can, post the links to Ethan's channel in the chat. For everyone else watching back, hopefully I'll have remembered and changed the description. And this Monday coming, we should have an interview. It might be a surprise. I'm not sure. We've got two people. We had Ethan, so now I've got two backups. We'll beat into that and see who's going to be here on Monday. Other than that, I've got Richard every Thursday, and everybody, I appreciate you hanging about tonight. Ethan, I can't thank you enough, man, for jumping in. I really know it was absolute last minute. Really was last minute.
I was like, hey, I'm just going to cook dinner. Maybe you need someone. I'll ask. So I appreciate it.
No, it's nice getting to know you, man. And I'll hook you up for that co-host, and we'll definitely get somebody I want to know more of. Somebody I like exactly what you're doing. It's something similar that we're trying to build here at the Pigsty.
Awesome. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Right, well, if I can find the button, where is my mouse? There we go. Right, minimize that. Well, on that note, everybody, I will say thank you and out. And as always, if it wasn't for everybody watching, there would be no reason in doing this show. So a massive shout out to everybody that's come and watched tonight. And if I can get this to work correctly, I have a new video for my Patreons. So Patreons, thank you very much as well for throwing your few quid in that you have. Everybody, on that note, we will oink and out.